Hey, what's going on, everyone? Clocked it here, and going into the new year, I thought I would try to do a special video. Now, I've had groups of gamers all my life. I've got my, close friends that I've had from childhood, very close friends that I've had, that I've been working with, and I also met online a group of brothers who I consider to be close friends. Why do I consider them to be close friends? Well, we talk pretty much every day. We have a ton in common. And those people who I am talking about is, of course, the Juice is Loose crew. Now, when I first came onto YouTube, I came onto YouTube, quite late, in these YouTube streets, especially Nintendo streets. Probably about a good few months just before the Wii U hit the market. But I'd been on YouTube pretty much since it came out, so I grew up. I said grew up. I did not grow up on YouTube. I'm too old to have grown up on YouTube. I've watched, all of those big YouTube channels, the Angry Video Game Nerds, even the Game Explains, and and the game trailers, Screw Attacks, all those original YouTube channels that came up. I watched all those, and those were my go-to content. But as the years progressed, I needed to find people who had similar mindsets to myself when it came to gaming, and especially when it came to Nintendo. So after scouring what I call the YouTube streets for a while, YouTube streets for quite a while, I stumbled across two people at first, and those two people were Red Knight from Active Gamer Life, who used to make absolutely amazing content. If he still is on the net, I'm sure he still does, but his old channel had closed down. But Active Gamer Life was the same mentality as me when it came to Nintendo and much of gaming. And then I also discovered Mr. T with the Mr. T show. And Mr. T as well was just another personality that just clicked with me. From a comedy side, but also from primarily from a gaming side as well. And Mr. T is on the Juice is Loose crew, so it's through essentially Mr. T and Active Gamer Life that I discovered Terminator Juice and the rest of the Juice is Loose crew. And Terminator Juice is the podcast host and the host of the Juice is Loose podcast. And after I created my channel, I was always commenting, on these people's channels anyway in the comments and stuff. So eventually I got invited onto the podcast, and ever since then, I had been on pretty much every single podcast until the last few years where I've had to step back a bit, and that was mostly because of changes up between Rona and work time, and also me getting older. I cannot stay up as late as I used to be able to do these podcasts, because Terminator Juice and the Juice is Loose crew for the most part are based in the United States, and I am in the UK, so they're always either 5 or 6 hours behind me. So if it's normally it's like 6 o'clock for them, it's midnight for me. So if I jump on a podcast, that podcast could be going on for like 2.5 hours, which is all great. I used to love just talking. The time spent meant nothing to me, because I just used to love being on there. But then having to get up for work the next day started to get harder and harder. My time on the podcast had to step back a bit. Those are the main reasons why you don't see me on there as much. But if I do get a chance to come on, if there's a holiday or whatever, I'll try and bounce on if I can. But my time with the boys on the Juice is Loose, isn't just on the podcast. We talk pretty much every day on Google Hangouts as our sub chat. We're also on Discord and stuff. And behind the podcast, we're always just joking, talking, whether it's about games, movies, whatever. And I just think over the years, and it's probably been a good 7, maybe coming up to 8 years since I've been talking to these boys. And those boys, recently done their own videos where they met up. You might have seen me meet up with the Legend of Retro and Gaming with Me. I met up with those guys in London, and then the rest of them also got to meet up in Michigan. Where that video was on the Terminator Juice channel, where they said, they've pretty much been talking for 10 years, so it's been, between us all, it's been near a decade, since we've all been talking, and that's a long time. And of course, that amount of time, if you're still talking, you have to be friends, right? Even if it's, from at a distance, you have to be, of friends. And I do consider, these guys my friends. But it was through them, that I got into these Nintendo YouTube streets. And when you're on YouTube, you find yourself slotted into different parts of what you would call the Nintendo community. And even though I've been in and out of the streets that the Juices Loose crew dive in and out of, I suppose for myself, I've never really considered myself a big part of that community. Not that I wouldn't want to be, but like I said, because I came a bit later and I didn't form some of those older relationships with all of these other people who form this community. They know of me perhaps, but I haven't really done much else. But I have been on the Winging It podcast with Jay. I spoke to other people like Shadowfox and Sandstorm and stuff, and and Robert Ruler too. Like I say, I managed to float around, dip in and out, but because I don't make as much content as these people, it's hard for me to stay engaged fully on YouTube, which is why the hangouts where the Juices Loose crew is so important for me. But what I thought I'd do, Legend of Retro done a similar video where he spoke about each of the podcast members, and I thought I would do the same, but I also added a little something special in there. Now, as you can see by the title of this video, I have a little collaboration going on with my 14-year-old daughter. I got 3 girls, or as I like to say online, I got 5 kids to feed, but reality is I have 3 girls. My 14-year-old, she's become very proficient on the piano, and I'm very proud of her. She's very talented. So I got her to help me out in this video a bit. So what I'll do is, I'll just go through Juice in no particular order, although I'd probably save Juice till last. But let's just say I will start with Terrell, the Insane Game Freak. Why am I starting with Terrell? No particular reason, but Terrell I consider to be very intelligent and very funny. His laugh legit kills me when he goes off into hysterics, and when I am on the podcast with Terrell, I always try to get his attention in some ways, because there is an element of click between me and him. I feel he knows when I'm trying to wind someone up. And I think a part of him also, looks for it sometimes, which is why sometimes we'll catch each other on camera and start laughing. But Terrell on the Juices Loose, he's been on the internet for years as well. And like I said, I met him through the Juices Loose podcast, and he's our resident, Pokemon fan, I think, first and foremost, but followed closely by our Sonic fan. And when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog, I've been loving Sonic my entire life, but I'm the type of Sonic fan who admits when Sonic's history and games haven't been as great as big the character actually still is, surprisingly, but Sonic for me will always remain in my Sega heart, and I still play a few games every now and then because I am deep down a Sonic fan. And so I can have that back and forth with Terrell about Sonic the Hedgehog. But, he talks a lot about anime as well, and I'm pretty old school anime. I came from, from the 80s and 90s of manga and anime. And, Terrell has certainly dipped into a lot of that, and he's also a new-aged anime fan. So being able to listen to him talk about anime, and me being able to have some inclusion, but also pick up on a few things that I would probably like to watch as well. I am eager to always hear what he has to say about that type of stuff. But I watch a lot of Terrell streams, and when I say he's intelligent, the type of conversations Terrell has are the type of conversations that a lot of people won't have. He's more than happy to speak about his strengths and his weaknesses, but also a lot of things in society and the world. And I listen to all of his podcasts that he'll do. Sometimes I can't be there live because of time differences. If I can be there live, I'll be there live. And he has let me sometimes walk away thinking about many things that. It's not so much I wouldn't give them consideration, but I wouldn't think on them as deep as sometimes that he does. And I find that quite a endearing feature, about Terrell. And I hope he retains that. And I say he. Hopefully you're watching this, Terrell. I hope you retain that. Because it's important to talk about many things that we go through in life. And I've always sometimes I've backed away from comments because a part of me wants to say things where I feel like I want to give an opinion that I feel like will also benefit him. But at the end of the day, he's a grown man. He's got his own place now. He works hard, and he's worked hard on his channel as well. And he keeps the content coming, and he keeps it coming for his subscribers as well, and his fans. So well, I absolutely salute you, man. I love you to death, and So this one. This is for you, Terrell. This is for you. Very special gift for you. Alright, second born, let's get this done. Oh, my ears. My ears! Do you know who this is? This is a Mitsuda classic. A Mitsuda classic! This is my Kung Fu hand! You will get it right. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. The next person I'd like to talk about is Robert of Gaming with Me. Now, Rob, he's almost like the baby brother of the Juices Loose podcast. He's the youngest on there, still in his early 20s, a lucky bastard. And I got to meet Rob in London. Now, it was a surprise, so it literally blew me away. I was in absolute shock and I was stunned, but it was legit. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Rob. It was legit one of the happiest moments I've had in years. That, you know, to see these, you know, to see you in the flesh just turn up like that when I just thought I was meeting the legends of retro. It was amazing, and that day I will never forget. You know, we had a great day. It was short. We blew through a lot, but we had a great day, and I'll always remember that. But yeah, you know, like I said, Rob was is the youngest on the podcast, and considering Rob's age, he's got very determined and good opinions on life and gaming. And, you know, his gaming opinions, you know, can sometimes not brush me the wrong way, but force me to, you know, to counter and say things that just need to be said. But many times I am doing my best to wind him up, because I find you to be quite gullible, Rob. and that's the git in me. That is, sometimes I do like winding people up, not all the time, but when I know I can get you, I'll get you. Especially like some of our recent conversations where we're talking about genres, like a car genre and stuff like that, and I'll find arguments and evidence, no matter how loose it might be. I'll find it, and I'll use that as some sort of additional fuel just to keep that story going. I can't help it. But Rob, you know, I used to joke around with him and call him, you know, my Padawan, in terms of his gaming history and the type of games that he needs to go back and play. Now, as we know, as you should know, Rob has got a series on his channel called Back at the Backlog, and it's these he's basically going back to play these games that he's even never played before, always heard of, been meaning to play them, or, you know, just in his general backlog. And there are many, you know, classic games that, because he's younger, he has not yet gotten around to play, like, for example, A Link to the Past, or somewhat recently, you know, Ocarina of Time. You know, so if he says he hasn't played Ocarina of Time, you know, all of us on the podcast are like, right, you gotta play this game. And when you play it, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do this. But because Rob is so far behind on many of these games, you know, he has, a lot of times he'll have the opinion of just needing to complete the core aspects of the game, and unfortunately maybe not have enough time to spend in that game. But when it comes to certain games, we're like, no, you have to do these things. So as one example, you know, he played Ocarina of Time and never got Epona, or played Ocarina of Time and never went Poe hunting, you know, and stuff like that. And we're just like, what? Did you even play the game? And stuff, you know. But, you know, Rob, yeah, you know, I absolutely love you, dude. You make me smile. I love all your opinions. I love, like, the relationships that you have with your family, you know, which is very heartwarming, especially the relationship that you have with your mum. You're both very close, and I absolutely love that. So every time you do a video with her, I really look forward to it. Your Back of the Backlog videos are edited to absolute perfection, and, you know, when I grow up, I want to be able to edit videos just like you. You know, so you're definitely an inspiration, brother, when it comes to making YouTube content, and an inspiration when it comes to playing games in general. Because when you want to focus on something, when Rob focuses on something, he dedicates his mind and his body to it. You know, if he wants to go somewhere, he'll go traveling. And people say you cannot squeeze all this in that time period. Rob will find a way to do it, and he'll do it. And he's got that young determination that I used to have, which is why I went traveling a lot back in the day. But he's also going through the types of games. He's able to play a league ton more games than me these days now. Whereas, like, back in the day, I'd be able to play the same amount of games as he used to play, but I can't do it anymore. So in some ways, when I seeing him and hearing about him playing all these things, it's like looking back at our younger selves when we were able to do that type of stuff. But, you know, yeah, Rob, you're absolutely integral to the podcast. A good friend. When we do get to play online, online games together, it's an absolute blast. Even if you might be a little bit over competitive and you need to take it easy on some noobs, especially your family. But if you ever want to take me on Street Fighter, I will smack the hell out of you. No holds barred. Dead. No matter. Just play, man. But yeah, Rob, I love you, man. And yeah, this one is for you, brother. This one's for you. Okay, my child. It's going very well. Play away. What? Sorry. I thought I heard something. Can you just try that again for me, please? Oh my God. This is for Robert of Gaming with Me. You cannot mess up this Actually, this dude didn't even save Epona in Ocarina of Time. Can you believe that?
No.
It's disgusting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Embarrassing, shameful. So do you know what? I don't even know if he deserves this song. We'll think about it. Do you know what, Rob? Because you finally played Mass Effect, I'll let you have this one. But you best start Mass Effect 2 soon. You understand me, Rob? You understand? And following on from Gaming With Me, I want to talk about another very special friend, the legend of Retro. Now, me and Retro, I feel like we have a great relationship, to the point where I feel like if I'd known Retro when he was younger, because you're both of similar ages, all of us are of similar ages apart from Rob and Terrell, who are slightly younger. But I feel like if I had met Retro when I was younger, you'd like to think that we would have become best friends, because me and Retro, we have this connection with understanding that core of gaming, and when I mean that core of gaming, still being able to love and adore and play and understand the origins of gaming. When we say the origins of gaming, I'm not going to go as far back as like the earlier Commodore and Atari stuff, because as much as I grew up on those and loved those, it's an era not even I go back to anymore, but I will happily and easily go back to the 8-bit era, whether it's the NES and Master System, and then obviously the 16-bit era with the SNES and the Mega Drive and stuff like that. But me and Retro, I feel that we definitely are kindred, spirits when it comes to gaming, and things that we generally love when it comes to just life and stuff, whether it is nature and all those type of things, and we talk a lot. Both on the Juices Loose hangouts and in our own personal hangouts, if we just want to quickly talk about NES games and stuff like that, very specific NES games that we believe that no one else has played, or that we just something happens on the internet, we bring this up and we go, oh yeah, remember this, or it's like, oh yeah, 'cause I played this and I done that, and everything. But once again, I got to meet Retro out in London, and man, I had this whole game plan in my head, for what I was going to say to him when I first met him, because we both, like I said, we were from the similar era. So I was always going to say, do that, that Predator intro, you son of a bitch, that type of stuff, which I did do, but then Rob turns up and I'm just like, oh my god, my plan's gone out the window. Like, this whole day has changed for the better, of course. But when I got to meet him, meeting both meeting both Rob and Retro, it was momentarily surreal, but also, we've known each other for years now, seen each other's faces, heard each other's voices. So meeting up in person was just almost sizing each other up, just to get that balance in, what we look like in real life, how we walk, because you don't generally see that. But ultimately it just felt normal, and that was so relaxing. I think it was relaxing for all of us, because you still never know, right, when you meet people that you've met online, what they actually might be like in real life. But I feel like all of our characteristics and mannerism stuff carried over from YouTube into real life, because fundamentally the type of content that we create, we're not creating personalities that deviate extremely far from who we are. Of course we have to create content in a way that we have to speak things across in a certain way, but generally we are talking like we normally talk, like I am now. So meeting Retro was just just meeting a brother online, and I do consider you my brother Retro. We have an intense passion and love for many Nintendo games that we share. It was Animal Crossing, Baton Kaitos, Skies of Arcadia, all these Majora's Mask, Final Fantasy VI. I could, the NES games, where it was Mario 2, and just, I could roll so many games off my tongue that I love, that Retro also loves, which is why we can just, bond and just talk all day, every day, just like we did on our Donkey Kong Country video that I done for the Super Nintendo, where I just wanted to celebrate what was Donkey Kong Country, and that was all off the cuff. We just sat there and spoke, and we just naturally just enjoyed each other's company. And I think it's hard, you don't always get that with people online. And it's definitely something that we have with all of the people I speak to on Juice is Loose, and especially Legend of Retro, and Retro will soon be leaving the EU, to start his new life in the US, and all I can do, my brother, is I'm gonna miss you, even though we're not even in the same country now. But it's just that European bond, I suppose, that close partner bond, and it will feel like you are literally going to the other side of the world now. And I am gutted, man. But at the end of the day, you're gonna start a new life, and it's gonna be the greatest decision you've ever made, probably. And I wish you and our lady nothing but pure happiness and the best, my brother. And once again, this one is for you, Legend of Retro. This one is for you, brother. Next one, my child. You're doing very well. Please proceed.
Oops, sorry.
What? Try again, please. Try again. All right. Have you ever had your fingers piped before?
No.
Do you want your fingers piped?
No.
Then what are you going to do? You're going to play this correctly, right?
Yeah.
Do you know who this is for?
No.
This is for the Legend of Retro. He's a legend. And this is a Sakuraba masterpiece classic. Do you like your fingers?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to do now?
Play it right?
Exactly, my child. Daddy loves you. This is all for the greater good. Next up, I want to talk about one of the first people I mentioned in this video, and that is Mr. T. Now, if Retro was my European brother, then Rob is like my younger brother. I would call T my US sibling, almost, because we're almost cut of the same cloth, I feel. And I say this for myself. I don't know how T feels. This is how I feel. This is how I feel, T. Okay, speak of my heart here. But me and T have, first of all, two things in common. We absolutely love the Nintendo 64 and Sega Saturn. And you know what? For the friendship, straight away, what more could you want? We both lived and breathed those consoles. So when we ever talk about those consoles and those games, we could talk for hours. And we have done sometimes. Talking about that era. I say sometimes. When we go back to that era, me and T, we just want to talk about it non-stop. And that's what I was looking for. When I came online, that type of understanding of Nintendo, Sega, and also that era, and T, out of everyone on the podcast, is the one who's there with me, and I couldn't wish for anything more, really. But me and T as well, we also share that same comedic background, from old school, whether it's Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, or just the classic films, it's Friday, or House Party, or all that type of stuff, all the music that we listen to, all the movies that we watch, and that's another thing that we talk about a lot, that I wish I also spoke about a lot more. My movie background, I love films not as much as I love video games, but if games are here, films are there. And especially when it comes to the older films, from the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s and stuff, I'm on it, and I got quite a large, I used to have a large VHS collection, DVD collection, and I'm, got a decent sized Blu-ray collection. But yeah, I love films, and that's what we all speak about. But yeah, me and T, when I discovered this channel, his wit and his comedy and his execution, to both roasting certain types of gamers online and stuff, back in the early Mr. T days, just literally brought tears to my eyes. And and T became known as that type of character, who would just make people laugh and speak the truth. It's called, we call it real talk, right? And that's what we would do, and that's what T would do. Speak that real talk, speak that gospel, and I would be there for every single video, and I'd crack up, absolutely crack up. And out of everyone on the Juicy Soup podcast, it was actually T who I started speaking to the first. I reached out to him after being in YouTube comments and stuff like that. And after I got on YouTube, I reached out to him on Hangouts. And I said, do you mind if I contact you on here? Just I want to speak to you for the second and stuff. And he was nice enough, kind enough to actually oblige. And ever since then, I feel like we've been great online friends. And once again, when it comes to T's content, when T makes those types of videos where he's editing things in and adding funny intros and outros, or pass that in between, or do his comedy stuff, he just makes YouTube gold. You do make YouTube gold, T. And I can't his subscriber counts, I would say for everyone on the podcast, that's one part of me I wish that everyone's ignoring me. I don't care about myself. I wish everyone on the podcast, their subscriber count was so much higher than what it is. I mean, and it's not to discount the subscriber counts that the boys have got now, but sometimes when those certain videos release, you want to see that algorithm hit them nicely and spark something off, which keeps on escalating, because they all deserve it. They all truly do. And T is, definitely, deserves it, because T has been around, in these YouTube streets for longer than most, and has truly made some classic YouTube content. But yeah, T, we once again we talk, from behind the scenes and stuff, and we're just, massive, Jet Force Gemini fans, massive Banjo fans, just Ocarina. Like I said, we could talk about these games all day, every day. But yeah, T, you're my boy, man. I absolutely, love you to death. And I wish you nothing, more than greatness in the future, my brother. And this one's for you, T. All right, my second born, play away, my child, play away.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
What the hell was that? Do you know who you're doing this for? This is for Mr. T, the legendary Mr. T. And that is a Koji Kondo masterpiece you're ruining. Dynamics, what did that tell you? Alright, last warning. Again.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
And last and certainly not least, we have the main host, Terminator Juice. Now, Juice was the second person on the podcast I started speaking to, and he also eventually kindly asked me onto the podcast, as he saw me in comments, saw some of my videos, and clearly liked some of my discussions. So first of all, thank you, Juice, for inviting me onto your podcast, brother. Because it did change my life. Like I said, it's hard when the older you get. I find the harder it is to make friends. And it's not like we're chilling, in each other's rooms and stuff like that. I can go out and and have a drink, whatever. We can't do that. So all we can do is talk online. And I once again, I'd like to think, everyone on the podcast views me as someone who they can, speak to, and also want to speak to, and hear discussions from me, and have discussions from me. And I certainly want that from everyone on the podcast, and I certainly want that from Terminator Juice. Out of everyone on the podcast, I think when it comes to opinions, mine and Juice's probably clashed the most, but never in a negative or aggressive way. We just have two different core subsets or fundamentals when it comes to what we want from gaming. So whenever we do hit those things, we can have these type of debates that can literally go on for days, to the point where it's just like, all right, we'll stop now, we'll stop. But also what we do have is still that intense, love for Nintendo, that intense love for movies, and that's something that we've built up over the years, me and Juice, and we understand each other, I think, more than we might realize. You know, and we know what can, you know, tip each other over the edge now, where we used to wind each other out, which we certainly do, and we know what we both like, you know, from many avenues now. And, you know, me and Juice can have these types of conversations that we know sometimes they can lead into it, what they might lead into, but we still want to have them, and we enjoy them when we do have them. You know, I'm the type of person who can easily go back to like the 32-bit era, which is something Juice, you know, doesn't like doing, you know, for the most part. And I'll pick up that generation, you know, where there's lack of frame rates and stuff, and you know, we'll clash there. Where, you know, there are many games during that generation that Juice loved. But there are many that he didn't, and the ones that he didn't were probably many that I loved, you know, for many reasons. But, you know, it's once again, you can't have all these things that you expect to have in common. But what me and Juice do have in common are those types of games and those types of films that we have the uttermost respect for. And one thing I'll say about Juice is that he commands, you know, he still commands a respect and authority on the podcast, you know, as the podcast host. After all the years he's been doing it, you know, he can still calm the podcast down, you know, take control of the conversation and move it on when it needs to move on. And, you know, aside from a bit of, you know, laughter from a conversation ended or something, you know, we listen and we move on. He is the absolute core of the Juice Is Loose crew and podcast. You know, the absolute core. You truly are, Juice. And without you there, it's you know, it's pointless saying things wouldn't continue. You know, because things always continue no matter what in life, right? But there's no doubt that without the podcast, things would be so much different. And I think in a, you know, I do truly believe in a negative way. Things would obviously, like I said, you know, you could pick things back up, but nothing would be the same again. And, you know, I thanks to, you know, Juice has, you know, introduced me to, you know, quite a few things that I might not have picked up on. You know, we said, you know, in this house, you know, we Juice loved, you know, Avatar: The Last Airbender. And because of Juice, you know, I picked up the DVD box sets, and then I got my kids to watch it. And my kids now is, you know, my oldest daughter is her favorite show in the world, and his whole house loves it. And Juice will talk, you know, a lot about movies and his past experiences, you know, with his own family and stuff. And, you know, sometimes, you know, those stories I find to be, you know, quite, you know, I say sad, but just like almost really just like, damn, you know, if I was around the corner, Juice, you could come around my house and we would watch that stuff together, and then, you know, and have a laugh. And that's something, you know, I desperately, you know, want to do, because Juice, as you might see on this channel, he's built his own staggeringly impressive cinema room down in his basement. It's stunning, you know, absolutely stunning. And that's another thing I can't help but, you know, salute and commend you, Juice about, is his determination and creativity. And, you know, when he puts his mind to something, he creates something that I could never do, but, you know, it takes that next level, and Juice has put so much effort. There's so many things like that. It's admirable. Yeah, you know, Juice, you know, once again, thank you for everything, man. You know, I know it's a bit of a soft video, you know, and I was going to add more jokes, you know, hating on everyone just for the fun of it, but, you know, I just thought, you know, no, let's just give my thoughts on everyone properly here. And, you know, Juice, you know, I absolutely love you, man. And like I said, I wish you as well nothing more than greatness in the future as well. You know, Crom will shine down upon all of my brothers. I have no doubts about that. So, Juice, to finish this off, this one is for you, brother. Merry Christmas, Merry New Year, boys. Coming into next year, I just going to continue to keep talking with everyone when and where I can, and try to do more collaborations. Because time moves fast, right? Time moves fast, and we don't have all the time in the world. And I want to do some of those collaborations that I've been meaning to do for years that I've never got around with you boys. So that's the plan. But yeah, Juice, thank you. Retro, Rob, Terrell, T, my boys, love you all. This was for you, Juice.
That's all I know.
What do you mean that's all you know?
That's all I know.
But this is like for Terminator Juice, this is like one of, if not his favorite games ever. It's not good enough. We clearly need more. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Then play something else. Quickly. Beautiful, my child. Beautiful. Take care all, and peace.